Okay. Okay, good stuff. All right, the next scenario, we got two more that we'll just go through quickly here. We're going to go underneath out of bounds, need a three. Underneath out of bounds, need a three. This is a good one, Eric. I like what you put together here for us. So I'm going to share my screen. Eric, take us through this, and then you guys can start thinking about plays that you guys use underneath out of bounds to get a three ball. 7 seconds, by the way. Eric, you want to talk us through this?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. If you want to run that one back. So illustrated this as I would for like a scout, including their 3-point percentage, knowing what we're looking for here. So their shooter, again, it's a double action. So if they're the first screener in a double screen, kind of as a decoy, and then they turn around and come off the second one, similar to that twirl action we had with the Golden State Warriors. Just looking to get an open three at the top of the key. And again, this is part of drilling and teaching your players, change of speed and all that. So here, she kind of walks her man down and then comes off quick and, gets it up, just doesn't get it to fall.
Good stuff. And I like how you demonstrated, like, when I always think about using the telestration, I don't know why, but I always associate it with like self scouts type stuff and showing your players films of themselves. But yeah, really great, um, case study of using it for a scouting report. So good stuff, Eric. Appreciate you. Anybody got anything great to share? Underneath out of bounds for a three?
How about versus a zone?
Ooh, I like it.
Show you real quick.
Show us what you got. And Walmart draws that up. I put Rob's email there in the chat, um, in case you guys want to reach out. Again, they're a valued partner of ours. They make our events possible, and provide some resources that allow us to do this for everybody. So, in addition to just reaching out and thanking them, they're also giving out free trials of this software. So if you guys want to cash in on that and get a free license to use Tactic and play with it, and add some value to your programs, shoot Rob an email and thank him for his support, and ask him for that license, and he'll take care of you guys. So nice little bonus for all you guys.
Adam, you mind if I help you with the pitch?
Please tell us. Yeah, tell them.
Yeah, so we've been using it here at Penn State with women's basketball for the past couple months. And I'm very simple with it. When I talked to Adam, I told him, I was like, man, I like what I like, but there's a lot that you could do with it. There's a lot other tools that you can use, and pretty soon here, my head coach and myself, we're gonna start putting out some pretty good content on Twitter using Tactic, some drills, some ATOs, kind of like what you guys are seeing here. So, everything that Adam says about the software, I mean, I can echo and I can be a resource, because we use it. We're hands-on with it. And somebody DM me asking for the clip of that Virginia Tech play. Adam, you think you could send it to them?
Yeah, if you're cool with it. Yeah, what I'll do is
Yeah.
I'll put it on the yeah, just let me know who sent it, and I'll send it out to them, and I'll put it on the member side as well for anybody that's a member.
Yeah, I'll text you the email.
Perfect.
Coach Romar, good to see you, man.
Coach Phelps, good to see you.
Hey,
How's
I'm
everybody?
gonna we're finishing up one little thing here. We're
Take your time.
underneath out of bounds play. So here we go. Against a zone, get a three. It's got a misdirection component to it. It's called double cross. You start on the baseline with 2, 4, 5, 3. The 4-man's going to get a shot in the opposite corner. Okay. So when you hand him the ball, all four players extend up to the foul line extended. And then they meet there together. They go up kind of slow. And once they get to the foul line extended, they sprint 2 spots over. So the 2-man's going to end up sprinting right in front of the ball. The 5-man's going to sprint ball side. The 3-man's going to go over 2 spots. And then the 4-man ends up sprinting to the opposite corner for a weak side pass, double cross. Okay. So there it is. Okay. Can we see it the same way? So once you get up to the foul line extended, they all take off at the same time. And the confusion against a zone, any zone, is the 4-man's going to be the last guy who comes open late on the backside, and you get a 1 to 4. First of all, you got to have a 4-man that can shoot, obviously. We're not suspecting the 4-man, but again, call it double cross against any zone. The action is going to really confuse the zone because you have all these cutters at the same time. And what ends up happening is the cutter that they fear the least, the backside guy, you hit him in that backside corner for a 3. Double cross.
Good stuff. Yeah, really good. Okay, last one we'll share. And I'll just share this clip and then we'll get into it with Coach Romar. We got 3.6 seconds left, side out of bounds, down 2. Eric, you want to talk us through this one?
Yeah, I made sure I was unmuted this time too. So here you got Iowa. You're going to have 2 decoys running in the play, and then you got your 2 main scoring options, which here you got Caitlin Clark and you got Monica Schiano. So Caitlin Clark, of course, being one of the polarizing players in women's college basketball. Monica Schiano, she's the most efficient player in college basketball right now, scored 420 something points on 24 dribbles last year. So you're going to run action between those 2, and you're targeting that safety player that's Kennedy Towson, and you're getting a post ISO here for the best post player in the country. And, you know, she just comes up short. So if you could run that one back a little bit, Adam, and just pause it real quick, right there, pause. So you see again, using it in a scouting type, you show her field goal percentage, show her free throw percentage. You're going to get a post ISO if the safety defender chooses to go with Caitlin Clark as she does. So very, very likely that she might get fouled, and she's a great free throw shooter. We know that from firsthand experience when they torched us here last year. Go ahead and hit play. And then pause it here. And again, Caitlin Clark, like I said, you know, she's changing the women's game and extending the range, extending the floor tremendously. And so having the other 2 go through some decoy action, having these 2 run like a pin down set into a seal, you're essentially looking for one of those 2 to score. Now, if you hit play and then pause it on that red stoplight, you got Kennedy Towson, and you're putting her in a position where she's got to make a decision. So again, if she chases Clark as she does, you feed the post. If she doesn't go with Clark and she kind of stays playing safety, or she goes with Monica Schiano, you're more than likely hitting Caitlin Clark and letting her let it fly and give you a chance to win the game. So if you could hit play and let it go through. But again, you get this pin down. She seals her man. She goes up. And again, I mean, you can't ask for a better shot. That's the most efficient player in college basketball, shooting close to 67%. And like I said, I mean, 420 something points off of 24 dribbles. I know because I had to count them last year. So yeah, I mean, you can't ask for much better than that.
Eric, thank you for taking us through that. Guys, again, if you want to research tactic a little bit more, the link's right there in the chat. Shoot Rob an email. His email's there in the chat as well. Thank him for being a sponsor, and then ask them. They're giving out free licenses right now. So if you guys want to get your hands on that software and add some tremendous value to your program and to your athletes, want to make sure you guys take advantage of that. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Adam, appreciate it, man.
All right. Coach Romar, good to see you. I'm going to do, if you don't mind, I'm going to do a quick official introduction, and then we'll get rolling. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And correct any of the numbers that I may have wrong as well. But special guest, Coach Lorenzo Romar, head coach at Pepperdine. Coach has had a long and distinguished career as a Division I head coach. I believe you're going into your 26th year, Coach. Am I right about that as a head coach?
That's right, Coach. That's right.
Okay. His run included a fantastic 15-year run at the University of Washington. He's coached numerous NBA players, eventual NBA players at the college level, including 11 NBA first-round picks. So talk about that a little bit later. Widely known as a multi-talented communicator, coach, and recruiter, and one of the absolute nicest people we have in the game. Coach, I know you would, if I would have told you that ahead of time, you wouldn't have allowed me to go through that introduction, but you deserve every word, and really, really appreciate you being with us.
Thanks for having me, Coach. Once you asked, I was in.
Yeah. Awesome. We were comparing weather, Coach, a little bit earlier. We got a coach in North Dakota. We got a coach in upstate New York. I bragged a little bit about the Phoenix weather. You got the beautiful Southern Cal weather, I'm sure. What's it looking like for you today there?
Today was it was a sunny 77, something like that. Yeah. It was good. Clear skies. It was good.
If any of you guys have ever been on the campus of Pepperdine looking over the cliff to the Pacific Ocean, please raise your hand. Awesome. Coach, can we start off with that, if you don't mind? Like, what is it like to be in Malibu and from that campus, maybe the most beautiful view of any college Division I campus in America, looking out over the Pacific Ocean?
It's pretty cool, Coach. That scenery, it doesn't get old to me. When you drive up on my way to the office every morning, you look to the left and there's the Pacific Ocean, and from my office you can see the ocean. So the view is not bad at all.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for those of you who don't know, I had the privilege of working with Coach Romar for one season at Arizona. And I don't know if Coach Romar knows this, but when I was a young coach, there were 6 coaches that I picked out that I wanted to study. And I would say this goes back to maybe the early 2000s when I was at NC State. I started there. Matter of fact, it was probably about 2001 when I just said, you know what? I want to pick some coaches that I like what they do. I like how they carry themselves. I like how they coach their teams. And I'm just going to start studying them. I'm going to listen to their press conferences. I'm going to read any articles about them. I'm going to watch their teams play. I want to hear what they're saying about their team, about their players, about opponents. And it was a who's who of coaches. I'm not going to share all of them, but Coach Romar was one of those coaches. He has no idea that this was taking place, that I was studying him from afar. And then I was in the Pac-12 at Arizona State and then at Arizona and had a chance to compete with him. And then, by the luck of the game, we had a chance to spend a year together at Arizona, and it was awesome. So one of my favorite people. Coach, I thought maybe we could just start off, and by the way, make anything at all that you want to ask of Coach Romar. I mean, I don't think there's a topic in the game that he won't be able to address, from recruiting to, well, Coach.
The heat is on now. I don't know, Coach.
But from coaching, relationship with players, by the way, I think he's one of the absolute best in developing authentic relationships with players, coaching elite players, recruiting, making advancing in the business. Please just make sure that you say you have a question in the chat and we'll get you right on. But Coach, while they're thinking of questions, I thought it would be great if you could just share maybe a chronological path that you started, and start as a player, because we know you as a coach, but there was a day when you were giving guys the business, coach. If you could start from a player and take us through your coaching career.
How far back you want me to go, Coach?
Well, I
don't want to bore these
you
people.
play. You know what? You played 7 seasons in the NBA. I mean, start there if you want to.
I was a late bloomer, grew late, wasn't recruited out of high school, ended up going to the University of Washington, playing there out of JUCO. I was there for 2 years and went on to play 5 years in the NBA for the Golden State Warriors, Detroit Pistons, Milwaukee Bucks. Then I couldn't trick them anymore, and then I got cut for the last time. So that was my career as a basketball player. From there, I went on and joined a group. For some of you younger people, you may not know who this is, a group called Athletes in Action. It's a faith-based ministry that uses the game of basketball to share the gospel. And I was with them for 7 years, 4 years as a player, and then 3 years as a player coach. And from there, I joined Jim Herrick's staff at UCLA as an assistant. I was there for 4 years and then got my first head job right after that at none other than Pepperdine. So I was at Pepperdine 20 years ago. After 3 years there, I went on to St. Louis. We were at St. Louis for 3 years and then went to University of Washington for 15. After 15, I was fired, and then was fortunate enough to then join Sean Miller and Coach Phelps and the others, which I really enjoyed my year there. And now that leads me to where I'm currently coaching, back to Pepperdine.
Awesome. Coach, how about sharing a little bit about Pepperdine, where you're at? Again, I think it's a beautiful place, and it's really, I don't know how many people get to do what you did, have a second tenure at the place where you first became a head coach, but just talk about your program a little bit, if you don't mind, and your players, and kind of just why you think Pepperdine is a special place. I'm also correct. We can say it's in your backyard, right? You're a Southern California guy.
Yeah, Compton, California.
Yeah. So just talk a little bit about Pepperdine, and I can only imagine what it's like to be there, but anything about your program would be great. University, the campus, anything.
When I was with you guys over in Arizona, could you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When I was with you guys at Arizona, it was probably around January or maybe December, I started to think, if I was ever to get another opportunity as a head coach, where would that be? What would be important to me? And I wanted there to be familiarity. I didn't want to go to a different region of the country where I had to learn the coaches and the landscape all over again. I wanted somewhere where I had a little bit of history. I wanted to go somewhere where you could have a chance to recruit and be successful. And that criteria, I thought, fit right with Pepperdine. When I was at Pepperdine the first time, there was a guy that was in the and he put together with us coaches a team that we had an entry in this night league, Coach Phelps. I don't think I've told you that. Our coaching staff in this men's league, we were playing, and he kind of sponsored the team and all. Well, we had fun together. Well, that guy now is the AD at Pepperdine. Wow. So when we talk about familiarity, I already knew the president. I had a good relationship with the athletic director. I grew up in this area, having been here before and coaching at UCLA for 4 years. So it hit the familiarity piece there. And I felt like in Southern California, there's a ton of talent. And if we really worked hard, we could get our share of talent that could help us win big. And, I wanted to go somewhere where we would have a chance to win. And we haven't got to that point yet where we've totally turned the corner, but I think this will be our first that we have things in place so we can make a move and start to really be productive.
Awesome. Coach, I'm having a hard time. You're breaking up a little bit. I don't know that you can do anything about it.
Okay.
But is it coming across with the other coaches as well? Just let me know if he's breaking up a little bit. Okay. All right.
All right. You know what? I'm going to move to a different location.
Okay.
You can count to 15 and I would have completed the move.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Good.
See if this is better.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Let me know if I'm breaking up now.
Yeah,
okay?
no, you seem to be this may be a little bit better. I wanted to ask you, I say this a lot, like it's a small basketball world and we don't ever really know who the gatekeeper is going to be for our next open door in the business. And it's really funny that you said the AD at Pepperdine now is the same guy who got you guys in that summer league. And it's interesting because I know how you are, Coach, in terms of your relationship with the people, but maybe just speak about that. Like, we're around managers, we're around young people, and our relationships with them, the way we treat them, it's amazing how that person later on in life can be a gatekeeper for us, to open a door that otherwise may not have happened.
Coach, you've seen it during your long career. I'm telling you, fellas, it's unbelievable. Ladies, it's I remember at UCLA helping run camp in the summers. And I remember, you have a number of people coming out, they want to work camp and they work camp. And I remember this one particular person was just a hard worker and kept working and was asking a lot of questions. And I look up, he's now the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. I could tell you a dozen of those stories where you just don't know. We had a manager for us at the University of Washington. He did a great job. And back when the Seattle Sonics were still there in Seattle, they contacted me and asked if we had anyone that would fit a certain criteria, a certain description, a certain profile. And I said, yeah, I have the guy. And he is now with the Thunder as one of their top scouts. He's been with them ever since. And this was, 12, 13 years ago. So Coach is exactly right. You rub shoulders, you cross paths with a lot of people that you just don't know what's going to happen. I tell our players all the time, I want to make sure our players and everyone involved they know our managers' names and they treat them with the utmost respect. Sometimes managers get stepped on and they just kind of get ordered around. Players especially, they think that they're little slaves, and that's not the case. And I'll tell them, I'll say, I've seen it, fellas. Managers, they end up being more successful than you, and you may end up working for them one day. So be careful. But in this business, it happens a lot across the board. You just run into so many people that are smart, that are talented, that are gifted, that are driven, and they end up being successful at the highest level. So you just never know.
Awesome. Coach Orris, you have a question, go right ahead for Coach Romar.
Hey, Coach Romar.
What's up, Coach?
How you doing?
I'm good.
I had a question in terms of integrating your faith and basketball. You've been at the pinnacle, the high major level, highest of highs, where all sorts of things are involved. A lot of money, a lot of high stakes, a lot of different areas of life that come together. And how do you maintain your faith in that aspect? And how do you demonstrate being a man of Jesus and a follower through that, right? Because I feel like college basketball is an ugly business, and I've experienced it at the highest level of the ugliness that there can be, especially when we're talking about that level of high major and everything else. Like, how do you maintain being a man of God through all of that, and show that to your team, your players, your staff, and everybody around you?
Well, that is a great question, a loaded question, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure where everybody on this Zoom call is spiritually, but I'm going to answer the question as it was presented to me and respond. For one, it's a daily, moment by moment challenge. It really is, because I don't care what you're telling someone about who you are or what you believe, it's going to show in your actions. So that challenge you're faced with as a head basketball coach, you're faced with all types of challenges. You win, you lose, you're dealing with when you're personally upset, and you deal with when you personally fail as the head coach. And I think for people to see that this isn't something you're talking about, but that you really live it, is probably the biggest challenge for me. And when I fall short and I do something, they say, well, wow, that wasn't very Christian. I think it's really important for them to see me say, you're exactly right. I messed that up. I'm going to work hard. I'm trying not to let that happen again. So that they can see you're not perfect, but people make mistakes. That's a part of the challenge, to be honest, and try not to act like I'm above anyone, because I'm not. I think as someone that really, really is trying to follow the Lord, and you're really living off of his principles, the Bible gives us is a manual on how to live. And if I'm really living that out, I've found that if you're really trying to live it out, it's appealing to people. Even the ones that might tease me at first, or might make fun of me, or whatever, might hate on me, whatever. There comes a point when they take a real good hard look at that and say, well, wow, maybe that's the way to go. So that's the biggest challenge for me, to try to live it and make myself available to any one of my players or those that work with me, to be available to, if that's something that is interesting to them, to be there for them, to try to help them with.
Awesome.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Coach Clemens, go right ahead with Coach Romar.
Hey, Coach Josh Clemens, Paul Smith College, upstate New York, small college ball. Had a question when you're coaching, when you're coaching guys who are NBA level and you're coaching high level guys and you're coaching walk-ons. What are some challenges you face coaching different levels of players and different commitment levels and different, guys who want to make this their job forever versus their job for tomorrow?
I don't know if it was if I would describe it as challenges. For me, I think it's very important that as people, the walk-on is treated just like the NBA talent, as a person, in terms of a person. Now, in terms of coaching them, that might be a little bit different. I have no problem right now talking to those that have the NBA talent, of speaking to that talent and speaking to their aspirations and how it fits into our program. Because I think there's a balance in talking to them about the NBA, and now all they're doing is playing within our program to play in the NBA, and they don't really care about your team. I try to help them understand that, okay, you want to get to the NBA? These are the things that you're going to have to do. I mean, you can score all you want. If you're not going to guard, if your body language is terrible, that could hurt you in the long run. So try to use it as motivation, as opposed to we're not talking about the NBA now. You're not in the NBA. It's about this team. But I think we try to use it as motivation, but yet still in all, can you lead this team? If you're this big time NBA, you have these aspirations. Can you lead this team? If you can't lead this team, how is that going to help you? So I try to use that to challenge them that way. The ones that might be walk-ons, I think it's really important that they know you care about them. During practice, I may ask a question and I may call on a walk-on. I may say, Joshua, why do we cut corner as opposed to opposite? And let him give his answer. And he gives the right answer, praise him, because he doesn't get praised a lot. He's not as good a basketball player. Find ways to praise that particular person. So look at each one But if we can back up, Coach, if I don't take the time to get to know the walk-on, the NBA talent, all of them, I don't know what makes them tick. And a lot of times they won't give me the right to talk to them the way I want to talk to them. But if I really get to know them and they really feel I care about them as people, then I think they'll go the extra mile for you.
Thanks, Coach Clemens. Coach Romar, Coach Lewis has a question, but before we do that, let me go the other way on the lesser player, the walk-on. I think the temptation sometimes is to give them extra, not hold them as highly accountable to some standards, because you look at them and they can't compete maybe necessarily against your elite players. But sometimes I've been in situations where you go the other way and you almost disrespect them in a way because you're not holding them to a standard, but they're on the team. They can't play like the other guy, but like that delicate balance of, yes, praise them, but also like you're not just a token practice player. You're here as a member of this team. Have you been in situations where you almost were like, let them know you're a lesser player. You're not getting in the game, but I'm still holding you accountable.
I think it's disrespectful not to hold them accountable.
Right.
I think you are totally disrespecting that person who is on your team if it's just, that's okay, little Johnny's not that good. It doesn't matter if he misses a layup. That's okay, fellas. No, I think it's a compliment to that person when you chew them out just like you chew the other one out. Now, there's some things that they're just not capable of doing. And I think we got to recognize that. But if it's anything within their grasp, and especially if it's an effort thing, if it's an effort thing, if it's a mental thing, they're not locked in, oh, we got to jump on them right away. And I'll even get them on about they're sitting on the bench and not playing, and they're just over there and they're not contributing and not cheering on their teammates. Hey, you got a role here. You may not be the best basketball player here, but I don't see you encouraging anybody. I don't see you know our offense and defense as well as anyone. You've been here 3 years. Now, you may not be the best talent, but why aren't you helping these freshmen over here learn this? And just try to get them engaged, keep them engaged as much as possible. But I do think it's a compliment when you hold them accountable, and I think it's very disrespectful if you treat them as if they're just a non-player and they're not on the team.
That's so well said. Thanks, Coach. Coach Lewis, go right ahead. Coach Lewis is from Cleveland State, Coach Romar.
Okay, Coach.
Coach, man, thanks for coming on, giving us this sponge of knowledge. Got a great appreciation for the walk-on piece. I walked on for football and ended up playing Division I football and basketball. So
how was your experience? How'd they treat you?
Well, I started 4 years in football and 3 years in basketball. So
They treated you pretty good, huh?
yeah, the mentality changed, but I always say I had to go out and search. So
you must have been like a Nate Robinson walk-on. People don't realize Nate Robinson, the little guard that played in the NBA, he was a walk-on at first because he played football too. So he was a fake walk-on, I call it. So.
I got a Nate Robinson story for later, but Coach Lewis, go right ahead.
So, Coach, pre-COVID, obviously as coaches, we were all aware of mental health issues, different things, team chemistry, those things. I think COVID taught the world a lot about being efficient for work, mental health challenges. Like it's changed a lot. A lot of things have happened. And then being at Cleveland State, we've used sports psychologists in the past in order to help our team. We won a championship last year, and I think it was credit to our culture that was developed by the sports psychologists that we had, right? Doing it for so long, things changing over the years, even from the standpoint of how much we require work, right? Physical work, being in the weight room, getting shots up, how long we practice, those type of things. Has your mentality shifted or changed since prior, the same, whatever, pre-COVID, through COVID now?
I don't think in terms of our approach with our team, that part hasn't changed, but I am much more sensitive to the mental health piece But
You got like 4
be,
minutes, so we shut down.
trying to be proactive as opposed to just reactive with it. How, when things get tough, how do these kids respond? Do they begin to disassociate themselves with the team slowly? Just certain signs that I really try to watch, and then I will approach them. We talk about that relation piece. If you're the type coach that's just a dictator and you don't have any relationship with your players, it's just about wins. I think that part makes it a little more difficult. But if you really know your players, you can tell when there's somewhat of a behavior change. And I think it's on us to be proactive, to go and talk to them about that, and point them in the right direction to get some type of help with it. So that definitely has been, I've probably been more aware of looking for that than maybe in the past. In the past, I might have been more reactive as opposed to proactive.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Coach Ye, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Please correct me if I'm not, but Coach Ye, go right ahead with your question for Coach Romar.
Yeah, how you doing, Coach Romar? My question is, culture-wise.
Coach, I'm sorry. Is that accurate, Coach Ye?
Coach Ye, yeah, Coach Ye.
Got it. All right.
Sorry for the noise in the background.
Okay.
But culture-wise, what are 3 things that are consistent about a Coach Romar team at Pepperdine?
I think we play hard. Off the court, we try to do the right thing. Okay, whatever it is, we try to do the right thing, and you can put a whole lot of categories under that umbrella, but we try to do that. We're going to try to play hard. We're going to try to be unselfish out there on the basketball floor, and we'll try to show some type of humility when we're out there. We have people have their core values and their acronyms and all, and our particular one is PATHS, PATHS. P for passion, A, accountability, T, toughness, H, humility, and S, sacrifice. And those things, if you possess those things in a marriage, in a relationship, on the basketball floor, on your job, wherever you are, I think it applies to almost any situation if you possess those qualities. And it was mentioned earlier, I think it was Coach Orris, about my faith, and it was taken exactly from that. Jesus Christ was very passionate about when he went to the cross and what he did. He allowed his Father to hold him accountable to doing the right thing. Unbelievable toughness when he went to the cross. Everything that they were throwing at him and all what they did, he showed great toughness, and then humility. He could have zapped a bunch of people all at once, a bunch of times, and didn't do it, and then obviously sacrifice it. So that's where we got it from, but it applies in so many situations. So Coach Ye, in our program, hopefully our guys, our team, exemplify some of those qualities.
Thanks,
Coach, you were holding out on me with that path. I wrote it all down. That's some good stuff. You never shared that with me before now.
I didn't know it when I was with you.
Okay.
Inspired
me. Coach Orris has a question, but I want to go back to, I think as coaches, we have to learn who we are and be who we are. And I was able to watch you, and and I'm not meaning this as just a naked compliment. It's going to come across as a compliment, but I'm more interested in how you think about this particular area. But you have a really easy way with players, and part of it is just, it's your personality. And I think we can learn from other coaches, but we also have to be ourselves, because if we're not ourselves, we're not going to be authentic. We're not going to, we're not going to have success. And so how important is that? I know for me, I was always a preparation coach. Relationships are important, but I would I would have to think about it. I got to go in. Hey, I got to make sure I check the boxes today, and I'm not about me. I got to be about others. It's very natural for you, but just talk about being yourself and I don't, how important is it that you have that self-awareness and you're yourself as opposed to copying other people?
I think it's huge. Let's say as a basketball player, you're an energy guy. You're a Dennis Rodman type energy guy, but you're not really skilled. Well, to go watch Kyrie play and say, I want to learn to play like Kyrie, you're wasting your time. You don't have that skill set. It's not your makeup. As a coach, I've learned to try to study coaches that coach the style that I would prefer to coach, to where I can better what I'm doing. It'll enhance what I'm doing. Okay, this is how we play. Look for coaches that may coach the way you do or play the way you want to play, as opposed to the other way. When I was at UCLA, I had the good fortune before John Wooden passed away to spend a lot of time with him. We just, I mean, he was unbelievable. He just sit and talk basketball with you forever. And I wrote down so many things. I read all of his books, and there are just certain things the way Coach Wooden did it that I tried, and I just realized I'm not John Wooden. And I don't mean in terms of greatness. I mean in terms of just coaching style. Coach Wooden, and I talked to a lot of his players and asked him on this. He never mentioned the word winning. He didn't talk about winning. He talked about being your best. And it's interesting, if you talk about being your best as opposed to winning, it relieves a little stress off of some teams, some players. You can't do more than your best. That's all you can do is your best. And he would preach that all the time. And I tried doing that, I couldn't. At some point, we got to win tonight. We got to do whatever it takes to win. But I learned that, back in the day, Bobby Knight, you had some Bobby Knight disciples running around who were just yelling at everybody for no reason and, doing all these things, outlandish things to get their players' attention, but they weren't Bobby Knight. That's who he was. So if we're going to try to emulate someone that, you guys were going over the out of bounds plays, you're going to steal a play, you're going to learn something from that. Even that's great, but does it fit the rest of your system with what you're doing? Yeah. Does it fit the rest of your principles, the habits that you've taught them offensively? Does this go against the habits that you've taught? You even have to look at that. But when you watch a coaching style, if that's not your makeup, the way you are, well, then that's not who you need to emulate.
You probably couldn't have had a better example, because of all the people you would think, yeah, I'll copy John Wooden. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do it the way he does. I was reading his books while you were actually talking to him. And I remember that too. Like, he always talked about your best and never talked about winning. And I tried to do that as a high school coach initially, but then I got right back to it. At some point, for whatever reason, I had to start talking about, hey, we need to win. Here's how we're going to win this game. And there's probably no better example of someone to emulate with his record. That's a great example of, he said, you know what? Eventually he said, no, I can't do it. As good as he is, I'm going to talk about winning,
But then Coach, these better than me, was it Vince Lombardi that said winning isn't everything, it's the only thing?
Right.
And he was successful too.
Right. There you go.
The one that said it's not whether you win or lose, but how you play the game. And someone said, whoever said that was a loser.
Right.
People have different philosophies and different makeups, and you got to be who you are.
Yeah. No doubt. Coach Orris, go ahead. You got another question?
Yeah, Coach. I had a pretty traumatic college playing career, and as a coach now, as a player then and as a coach now, the reason why I got into it was because a lot of that, and I know the weight of the impact we have on players and their lives and the ripples that it can create and the waves that come with it. and you have been in this business 20 plus years and have touched and reached over hundreds of players, right? If coaching ended for you today, what would you want your players to say about you as a man and as a coach?
Coach never lied to me. He was always honest with me, and coach really cared about me. That's it. And I sincerely mean this. If they said, I wouldn't care if they said coach was a good coach. I mean, I care to a point, but that wouldn't be the thing that I would. If they said coach really cared about me and coach didn't lie to me, then I would feel like I did my job. And coach helped me reach my potential. There we go.
Thanks, coach.
You're you know, I've heard people say this a lot about you can really kind of judge a coach in a large way how his teams play, how hard his teams play. And the thing I remember mostly your teams at Washington and how hard they played. I'll tell a quick story and I want to ask you a question, but you know, we played you guys. I was at NC State and you were at Washington. We played, you had Nate Robinson. Who else was on that team? You had a really good team. Was
Brandon Roy. Brandon Roy was on that team.
Yeah.
A couple others.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't know who they were. Yeah.
So I don't know how well you've gotten to know Coach Sendek at all, but like the whole week, Coach, it was like all he kept showing was tip dunks by Nate Robinson. You say, like, look, man, here's a point guard. He's not going to get back. He's going to, you know, if you're guarding a point guard, you're not used to blocking that dude out, you know? And so he spoke it into existence because in Raleigh, sure enough, the ball went up and this guy came, I mean, off a trampoline, like it's the most amazing, one of the most amazing athletes. And he dunked that ball. And I'm sure you remember, and we had that 2-game series at your place, and we had Julius Hodge was a high-level competitor. Oh, yeah. But your teams always played really, really hard. And to me, that was an indication of the relationship between a player and a coach, because guys don't play hard for you if they don't, you know, if you're not taking care of business as a coach, I feel like they don't play hard for you. So I just wanted to tie those two things in. I'll never forget that. Like the moment it happened, Herb looked down the bench at all of us. Like I want to tell him, you prophesied it, man. You know what I mean? All week long. So anyway, Coach Elkin, go right ahead with Coach Romar. And Coach Clemens. Go ahead, Coach Elkin.
Thanks, Coach Phelps. Coach Romar, it's always a pleasure to hear you speak and learning a lot tonight. So appreciate your time. As a head coach, you've been head coaching for many years and building great assistant coaching staffs. When it comes specifically to the recruiting side of things, what sort of information do you like to get from each of your assistants? Because obviously, you know that each assistant has guys that they really like, and your job as the head coach is to kind of figure out who's the best fit overall for the team. So like, what sort of things are you hoping to get from your assistants as far as passing players along to you? And then how does your process go with kind of navigating amongst your assistant coaching staff, players that you want to bring into your program?
Well, we have to start with, there has to be a certain amount of talent, right? If there's not talented, then maybe they can't help us. So we're going to assume that the player has some type of talent or skill that's going to make us a better team. I want to know how much they love the game. And the older I get, the more I want to know that. It's like one of the first questions: how much do they love the game? A lot of coaches like to talk about player development. That player that loves the game is going to develop more than that other one. He's going to find a way. She's going to find a way to develop because they're obsessed with the game. And that's so important. That's what I want to know. So I want them to ask questions, not just of their coach, but coaches and the other coaches in the league. And just whatever way you can find out, you know, we have to become detectives here. Find out as much information as you can about how much this particular student athlete loves this game. And if that checks across, then let's move forward then. Basketball IQ, what kind of feel do they have for the game? I want to know if they can shoot, like to have good shooters. The character is important, what kind of student, those things, but we're going to assume that it's there, but that obsession with the game is huge for me. And then the second part of your question, can you say it again, Coach Elkins?
Yeah, just so, you know, if I'm an assistant and I'm one of a couple assistants on your staff presenting players, how do you as the head coach take all the information? Obviously you evaluate the players yourself, but you know, how is it delegating those kind of recruiting assignments or roles amongst your staff?
We try to go by, Ken Bone is one of my assistants. He was with me when I first got the head job at the University of Washington. He coached at Seattle Pacific for 23 years. He was a head coach. He coached at Portland State. He played at Seattle Pacific. He really knows the Northwest. So at Pepperdine, we're in California, he handles the Northwest area because he's just really comfortable with it. And Gerald Brown, another one of my assistants, he grew up, he was a legend in Phoenix. He played high school ball in Phoenix, ended up playing for the Phoenix Suns. You know, he deals a lot with Arizona and Southern California. But all of that, we can throw it out the window if someone has a relationship, someone that has an area. Curtis Allen is in Vegas, Nevada. That's one of his areas. But if he has a relationship with someone and it cross references with someone else's area, then you go ahead, you take them, you know them pretty well. And what I really like, Coach, is once in a while, there'll be someone that we watched in a tournament and we decide we're going to recruit them. And a coach will talk to this kid for, you know, have 3 or 4 conversations and then say, wait a minute, you know what? I'm going to put the other coach on him because I think he'd do a better job with this kid than I would, I think. And then they swap. So you have to show some humility as a staff. It's not about, as they say, it's not about who's right, but what's right. And we try to do that so that it's a fit with recruiting as well.
Appreciate that, Coach. Thank you.
You're welcome, Coach.
Coach Clemens, go ahead.
Yeah, building off the recruiting stuff, how has your recruiting philosophy changed throughout your career? You know, your first time as a head coach versus now as a veteran head coach.
You said in recruiting philosophy?
Yes, sir.
That's a great question because right now, and within the last few years, I'm really, really adamant about this. I don't know if it has to do with age or what. I do think it has more to do with what it really takes to be successful. When I was younger, kids that were rough around the edges, maybe a little attitude here or there, I always felt like we'll work with them. We'll get them right. And we took some of those kids and we did get them right. We did. But some of their lives were changed forever, which was great. But the older I get, the more I really look for the kids that are about the right stuff. As many as we've taken chances on that it's worked out, I'd say there's probably twice as many that we took chances on and it didn't work out. So one of the things I really look at is you ask a kid after a game, I got to tell you a story. Okay, you mind? I'll tell you a story.
Please.
I learned this, unfortunately, from the NCAA. They'll ask questions sometimes. I remember when I first got to the University of Washington, the NCAA came in and asked a bunch of questions and they're looking for a certain answer and it'll give them an idea of kind of how you think a little bit. And I also learned it from the NBA people, the scouts, the GMs, when they call and they ask about players, they ask some very good questions to find out about these kids. And you call a kid after a game, say, I'm gonna use you again, Joshua. So what happened, Joshua? You guys, coach, we lost. What happened? Man, if you were the coach, we'd have won, man. This guy, I don't know what he's doing. I mean, we were up 10 and okay, you call him another time. What happened? We lost. Why? They didn't give me the ball? Red flag. Red flag. That's not my story though. My story is about the flip side. We had a guy named John Brockman. Coach Phelps, remember him. He played at Washington. He still is the all-time leading rebounder in the history of the program, and he is my not the best player, but favorite guy that I've ever coached. I called him. He was like I told you, he's first in rebounding, third in scoring, something like that. I said after his game in high school, John, what happened? He said, Coach, we lost. He was really down. I said, well, what happened? He said, I missed 5 free throws in the last 2 minutes. I said, oh, so I tried to cheer him up. Well, how many points you score? Coach, I didn't look. I don't know. He's very disrespectful, very, very respectful. I said, well, John, I knew the dude probably got a bunch of rebounds. I said, well, how many rebounds you get? Coach, I'm sorry, I didn't check. So at that point, I realized he just didn't want to talk. I said, well, John, I'll let you go, man. Sorry about the loss. We'll talk later. So we hang up. So I go, I can't wait till the next morning because then it wasn't the internet where you could just check these scores right away. And I look at the paper in the sports in that high school. It says his high school was Snohomish High School. It says Snohomish drops Thriller in spite of John Brockman's 41 points and 23 rebounds. The dude had 41 points, 23 rebounds, and he took the whole loss, put it on his shoulders. And I just told you, he's like, that's the same guy that took a young lady who was paraplegic in a wheelchair to the prom. That same guy is the one that did that. It's the same guy that just did all kinds of things in the community. I mean, he is one of the best people ever and was a heck of a basketball player. He ended up playing in the NBA, but look at the contrast from the first person I told you about that had blamed it on everyone else versus the person that was able to take it on his shoulders. So there are little things that you can find out about kids, to find out what their makeup is like before you get real serious about maybe even offering them or really taking a commitment from them.
John Brockman would also smile at you, rip your face off, and get 4.5 offensive rebounds every single game. Could not block him out. Could not block him out.
Yeah.
He was that guy, Coach. It sounds like on this side of the sideline, he's the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Once he steps on the court, he was a warrior.
Yes. Yes. You're exactly right, Coach. You're exactly right.
He was a terror. Coach Clemens, dude was a terror, man. Absolute terror. Coach, this has been good. This has been good. Will you talk about you've coached so many really good players, especially at Washington. I mean, you had a run there for a while. It was like NBA first round, NBA first round, NBA first round. You had a little string there. Probably what? Terrence Ross. Yeah, I mean, what was that? That you had a stage there. You had Chris and Murray in the same year, and just talk. I thought you did a great job getting elite talent again to play hard. Look, I know this is a softball question, but you're known for your ability to really have strong relationships. And I know what you're going to say, but just talk a little bit. I mean, how do you do that? I mean, I know it's simple. I know it's elementary, but developing these strong relationships so that guys will run through a wall for you. Because that's what I thought, watching your teams.
Coach, I don't know. I just know if you treat someone the way you'd like to be treated, it goes a long way with people. And especially if it's genuine. Coach Herrick would always say, who I work for at UCLA, you can't con a con and you can't kid a kid. They see right through it if it's not genuine. But if you try to treat people the right way. I just think they try to give a little more to you. And but I also think it goes into that recruiting piece too, finding kids that are obsessed with the game and really want to do well. And if they see that you're really in their corner, I think that's a really good marriage. And the potential of you getting the most out of them probably raises a little higher.
If you got a question for Coach Romar, jump in. We're winding it down. Coach, I have two questions. I'm going to go downer question first, and then we're going to end on a high note unless someone else has a question. But just talk about adversity. We've all been through it, especially in the business. Just your processing of adversity. You haven't had it hasn't been a perfect career for anybody. But just talk about adversity, handling adversity the best ways.
Again, everybody has their own way to handle adversity. I tell our players, I think it's easier to handle. And when I say easy, I don't mean it's easy, but people do a better job, let me say it that way, of handling adversity than they do success. Because when you're successful, it's easy to become content, and you don't realize that you're becoming a little content. When adversity brings the fight in you or the quit in you, depending on who you are. But in this game, we went through stretches where we were losing. That's why I got fired. And, after 15 years, I had never been fired before. And then the athletic director at University of Washington brought me in, and there was a lot of talk about it could potentially happen. But we had just signed Michael Porter Jr., who's with the Denver Nuggets. We had signed Jalen Noel, who's with the Timberwolves. We had a young team, but now they were older. They were coming back, and I thought maybe they might let us coach that team and see what we could do. But they had lost confidence in us. So when I got the news that I was fired, and again, Coach, you asked me a question. It was really disappointing. It was tough. It was tough to deal with. As a matter of fact, I got fired about 3:00 that day, and I went home, and about 10:30 that night, I went to go to bed, get in the bed and go to sleep. And I remember taking my cell phone and without even thinking, just turned my cell phone off. And when I turned my cell phone off, that's when it really hit me that I got fired, because as a head coach, I never turn my cell phone off because you don't know what's going to happen. Someone gets sick. I mean, there are times when I've got a call at 2 a.m. One of our players had to get rushed to the hospital because they were sick or whatever. It's just something happens. And then it hit me. I turned my cell phone off because I don't have a team right now for the first time in a long time. So it was tough. But I want to make sure you understand it was tough before I tell you this part. I'm a Christian. If the Bible says all things work together for the good to those who love God, if that's really true, then I can't really be upset with the athletic director that fired me. God's in control. If I'm going to be mad at somebody, I'm going to be mad at God. But I believe God loves me and wants the best for me. And although it didn't seem like that was the best at the time, he's in control. So if I'm going to talk this talk, now I'm out in front of people. So how am I going to respond now? Is it real now, or is it just talk? Well, I didn't believe it was talk. I believed it was real. So the attitude I had and how I handled that adversity was, what does the Lord have next? Let's see.
Yeah. Awesome. Coach Elkin, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, one more quick question for you, kind of about relationships and specifically with recruiting. So as you've been a head coach, the way that you interact with players, families and stuff obviously has changed. Do you feel like it's been easier for you now to build relationships, like true relationships with people, with social media and things being at your fingertips? Or do you think it's been a little bit harder as your time as a head coach has gone?
To have relationships with the players, you're saying?
Yeah, to form like true relationships, like get to know people really well, having all the access, has that made that harder? Or do you think it's made it harder to build true relationships with people?
I think it's harder in general as you get older to build true relationships. You know, and coaches right here during that, I would see coach all the time out on the road. And like you said, he was at NC State, Arizona State. We'd see each other, but I got to know him and his family a lot better when we were together. And I felt a relationship was formed then, you know, but when you get older, I just think you've been through life a little more, and there's sometimes you see through things a little easier, and you discern things a little better, and maybe you're not as naive and as trusting as you were when you're younger, so it's hard to trust and build those really good relationships, I think, without social media. But what I have noticed, you know, and I'm sure all you guys have seen it too, is just the lack of communication now with people is just, it's just different. And that speaks a little bit to what maybe you're saying. I can't speak to anyone else about the relationships that they've formed, but I just don't know with our athletes, you know, we'll go and we're trying to do something where it's team bonding and everybody has their back to each other and they're on their phones, you know, and to where you just have to say, all right, put your phone down, you know, so it's made things a little different. I would say that way.
Awesome. Coach, we're winding down. I got one more question for you. I don't know if anybody on the Zoom has been where you were in 1995. I know I haven't, but just what was that like being at the pinnacle? And that was early in your career before you became a head coach. Just let me live vicariously through you for 2 minutes.
It was nothing like it, man. It was see, here's the thing. You know, and Coach Lewis, you know, you have your tickets to go to the Final Four, right? You go to Final Four every year. So that's what I was doing. I mean, do you guys go to the Final Four, the rest of you? You able to do it?
Yep.
Well, you know, the coaches convention, if you're part of an ABC, whatever, you go to the Final Four. And people go to the Final Four if they're not a coach. People just go all the time. But we always go because it was in conjunction with the coaches convention. And you go, and then you go to the game, you watch the games, you go to the practices, you do all of that. And we go to the tournament. We almost lose in the second round of Missouri. We had a guy named Ty Sedney who went the length of the floor in 4.8 seconds.
I saw Tyus yesterday. He came by the gym yesterday.
Oh,
Coach.
is that right?
Hey, by the way, he looks like he can still go 3.7 seconds and get there full court. You know,
I wouldn't doubt if he couldn't. That little guy, man, he was something. He's quick. Then we go on, you know, Sweet 16. I think we beat Mississippi State. Then we beat UConn with Ray Allen, the Elite Eight, and now we're going to the Final Four. I watched the Final Four as a youngster every year. You know, the Bruins back then when Coach Wooden, and, you know, back as far as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was playing, Lou Alcindor. And you stand in line to get these tickets, to get your tickets at the Final Four, and because you're going to go into the game. Well, now we're on the bus. Hold on one second, please. I'm sorry, background noise. Now we're on the bus and we're driving in between these people that are going to the game. Like, man, this is ridiculous, man. It's us this time. We're really in it. Then we get out, we get in the locker room, and you go out on the floor and you see the CBS banner, you see Lynn Nance, Billy Pack, all those guys you watched call the Final Four. They're out there getting ready, doing their game prep, and it just hits you that we're really playing in this thing. And then when there was about 20 seconds left, we had the basketball. We're playing Arkansas, and we're up about 9 or so. And Arkansas is not really trying to foul, but they're moving. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. So like we're really about to win this, like the national championship for real. This is, you're overwhelmed with joy. You just, you work so hard, everybody wants to do this, and now you're the team that does it. And the crazy thing is, after it's over, the aftermath, it literally changed 95% of the group's life. The student managers, the coaches, the players, the equipment manager, the trainer, it literally changed their lives. People got promotions, people got more opportunities. It just, not to mention the perks. We got to go to the White House to meet the president. It was President Clinton at the time, but one of the most awesome perks for me was we got to go to Disneyland and didn't have to stand in line. We just went straight to the front, got on all the rides. I've been wanting to do that for my whole life, but it was great. It was awesome.
That's awesome. You actually produced some chill bumps there a little bit, Coach. You told the story well. You told the story well. So look, this has been great, Coach Romar. It's great to have you on, and you dropped nuggets of wisdom for the full hour, and just really appreciate you being on, and appreciate everyone else being on, and wish you the best. Wish Pepperdine the best this season. Oh, I'll be watching.
Hey, I wish all you coaches, man, I wish you guys the best with your teams. Coach Phelps, thanks for our friendship, and don't sleep one day if you guys are watching the Olympics and you see not Michael Phelps, some other Phelps in the Olympics swimming.
Yeah,
His
they're
daughter and son are high-level swimmers.
the Laney's running. She's got some unbelievable times right now. I'm going to
She's
tell
running
you.
now. Okay.
Yeah. Laney's running. Owen's swimming, and
Okay,
they're at a pretty high level.
Yeah,
So
got it.
I'll tell them you mentioned them on the Zoom. They'll
Tell them I gave him a shout out.
Yeah, I will. All right, Coach. Thank you. Appreciate everyone.
Y'all take it easy.
All
Thanks,
right.
Coach,
Take
man.
care.
All
Yeah,
good
all right.
stuff. Appreciate it.
All right.